L'Amphi Parnasso, the Twin Peaks of Mount Parnassus. It's a series of 14 scenes, some comic and some serious, for 5 voices. Together these madrigals sketch the outline of a plot from the 16th century Italian improvised comedy that we now call Commedia dell'arte. And we meet the stock characters such as miserly old Venetian merchant Pantalone, the verbose Dr. Graziano with his malapropisms, the boastful but cowardly Spanish captain, always after the ladies, and the much put upon servants, Zanni. Vecchi claims a double novelty in this piece, thus the Amphi, or twin peaks of his Parnassus, and this was the drawing together of comedy and music, by which I take to mean the juxtaposition of comic episodes with serious ones. So l'Amphi Parnasso careers from, say, a rapid-fire comic exchange to suicidal soliloquy, and this is matched by the music, which accordingly jumps from high-class patter song to the most mannerist and bittersweet polyphonic writing, bringing to mind Gesualdo or Marenzio. The serious scenes for the lovers are worth emphasising, as Vecchi did, to anyone wanting to pass the piece off as just a bit of comedy. It's the comic and serious mix which gives l'Amphi Parnasso its balance, which many opera composers picked up on, from Cavalli to Mozart and beyond. And the calmness of the serious scenes gives the feeling of a play within a play that we've attempted to bring out in our staging for DVD. It's a pretty inescapable fact that the text of the prologue does intimate that l'Amphi Parnasso is there to be listened to and not to be looked at. Vecchi also mentions that the plot and characters have just been thinly sketched, so rather than trying to set specifically a play to music, he's aiming to provide singers with some of his music while reminding them of their favourite commedia characters. But I think it's reasonable to say that 4 centuries later, at a time when most people will be experiencing this piece through having it performed to them rather than performing it themselves, a little help is needed in getting to grips with the characters and scenarios, especially for those of us whose 16th century Venetian dialect is a little rusty, and who don't have the same set of cultural references as our late Renaissance Venetian cousins. So we staged the work pretty much the way that a contemporary of Vecchi's, Adriano Banchieri, advises for some similar pieces of his, and this nicely gets around the difficulty of the way that each character is portrayed by constantly changing groups of voices. We've also tried to recreate the pleasure in wordplay that Vecchi's librettist clearly revelled in by commissioning some spoken introductions for each scene, which augment the 3-line argomenti of the original. And we hope this will give 21st century audiences, or at least English, French and German ones, that same pleasure. The other crucial thing about Commedia dell'arte is that it's absolutely a live art. And so the comic scenes in this production are taken from a single live performance. We should just hear a couple of words from Orazio Vecchi himself in the preface to l'Amphi Parnasso. He writes, "Since a great number of them that know nothing usually come to such performances, if there is one who still wishes to judge and express his opinion, let them graciously be content to listen and not to judge, and also realise that many know how to oppose, but few to compose. I conclude by saying that I have composed my Amphi Parnasso neither for the thoughtless ignoramus, nor for the severe pedant, for the former does not understand, and the latter does not condescend. It might also happen, as is natural, that those who do not know how to sing my comedy will criticise it, but let them realise that every subject composed in it is suited to its particular character, which should be found and recognised by the careful singer and expressed well and in orderly fashion to give spirit to the composition." And above all, in this wonderful work, which reaches Parnassus in its peaks of musical beauty and the comic representation of every man's very human foibles, it's the spirit of this piece that we've tried hard to rekindle.